All right, everybody, here we are with another video focusing on Raid Tarkentown. This one is going to be a little bit more generic. It's not really talking about the Tarkentown deck in particular. It is more just talking about one card and how I use it in my deck. So I've been getting a lot of questions about Regional Governor and how I deploy Regional Governor in my games. And it's definitely like a card that takes a lot of practice. It's very easy to play it in ways where you get like no value out of it, and it's just that you're paying 2 for a 1/4, and that's not really what you want to be doing. So I'm going to kind of talk you through like the right turns to play it and how to get the most value out of it. Okay, so I'll just go through a few of the most popular deck lists and archetypes and how I use this card and when I use it. So right here we have a PQ winning Sabine Green, and you can see it's this one's pretty standard. I think it has like a couple cards in here. I just grabbed like a random Sabine Green off of SWU Competitive Hub, which is a good site to check out if you want to know what decks are winning tournaments or top 8ing tournaments. So anyway, this one has like Ketsu Onyo and a couple other things. Only has 2 Dark Sabers. I wish I got to play against the Sabines that only run 2 Dark Sabers, but that's not unfortunately the case. Anyway, so there's, you know, when you play against Sabine, there's really a few cards that beat you. The cards that you're gonna get beaten by are Dark Saber, Poe, and Wrecker. Some combination of those 3 cards usually. Particularly in Ray Tarkentown, I can usually deal with all of the rest of this stuff. You know, I can just like get good value trades. It's not that big a deal. I can usually out heal the damage that's coming through unless they get like a really sick start with the, you know, A-wing into wing leader red 3 that I'm not able to answer. But other than that, it's really the late game stuff that makes it really difficult to stabilize. So when I'm talking about Regional Governor, we're really trying to target 3 or 4 of these cards: the Darksaber, Poe, Wrecker, and sometimes For a Cause. Now, usually what you're trying to do is, if you can, play Regional Governor in the first couple turns. You know, maybe you don't have a better 2-drop or 3-drop, and you're just forced to play the Governor. Then I'll usually call out Darksaber, particularly if it's in game 1, where I don't have confiscates in the main board, and I know I just need to be able to deal with that. So it can be pretty good to either, you know, play it in any of the first 3 turns, just to like shut down that aspect. Because if Sabine's playing like a different 4-drop or forced to play into K2SO or something like that, I can usually deal with it. After the first 3 turns, whether or not Darksaber came out, I'm usually especially if ECL hasn't been used yet, I want to be calling out Poe or Wrecker. Usually, you know, I would say 90% of the time I'm calling Wrecker, because that the reason that poses such a problem for my Ray Tarkentown deck in particular is because Wrecker doesn't care about Sentinels generally. It doesn't, you just can't, like, you can't stop the damage that's coming from Wrecker. There's no card that I've found. There's no Sentinel that can't just be you know, hit with 5 damage and overwhelmed. So this has become my strategy for dealing with it. To just stop them from playing it is the only way that I can stop it. So yeah, so we're calling Wrecker there. There's a few situations where you might want to call Poe Dameron, like say if you have say if you had a start where you started with you know, Sabine, or you've got Yoda down on turn 2 and then you're able to put a lightsaber on them, you might want to call Poe, because if Poe is able to ECL in and discard a card to destroy the lightsaber, that can be a really, really big blowout. So that would be the circumstance where I'd want to call Poe, is if I had an upgraded unit. But otherwise, Wrecker is the call all day long. After ECL's been burned, you're getting to a sort of late game stage where you know, you're not as worried about about an ambush, or maybe you've already seen a couple wreckers, so you're less likely to see another one. You might want to call for a cause I believe in at that point. Like a lot of times, Sabines will kind of telegraph that they have a couple of for causes. So if you just kind of gotta play it by ear, and if they played one for a cause and then they topped another for a cause, like you might want to just call the play regional governor and call for a cause so that they can't chain them together. Next one here is I believe this is Alexander the Greatest's deck from SCG on Friday that he made the top cut with, and this is another deck that regional governor can come in handy. It's a little bit harder because they have so many ways to bounce the regional governor, but that's kind of one of the things that's good about it, is it only costs 2, so that they bounce it, you can just replay it. A lot of times if they bounce it and you replay it, it's not that bad, because sometimes you might want to call a different card when it gets played again. So really what we're trying to stop here is DJ. So we have DJ you can call out when you're going, in this turn, like 3 or 4, when they're getting to their flip turn, you might want to call DJ. The downside is, like I said, that they can bounce it a lot. So you want to just be careful that you're going to be able to replay it. The other thing is you can call Cunning is a pretty good one. If both players have a board, like say you have a couple of units and they have a unit or two, Cunning can be a pretty good call, just so they can't tap you down to prevent you from being able to trade with their units. But DJ is like the real problem. Like if they beat you, it's probably going to be because you got DJ'd. So that's usually what I'm trying to target. The difficulty is that you have to protect the regional governor, because Han, you don't really have ways to stop Han from coming down and attacking and swinging for 4. So you need to make sure that either regional governor has an experience token on it, or has a sentinel in front of it, or you have a way to say like play perilous position or something to stop Han. But you just have to be aware of that if you're using your last 2 resources to play regional governor, it's on Han's flip turn. Regional governor is just going to get killed by Han, and then they're just going to play DJ anyway. So just be careful of that. Sometimes the nice thing about regional governor is it's not unique, so you can play more than one. So say you have one on turn 1 or turn 2, you can play it and then call Waylay, and then you can play another one the next turn and call Cunning, and that can really like shut down a lot of their game plan. Sometimes that might be better than calling DJ if you can get 2 of them and shut down most of their bounce. Like I've had turns, like games against Han Yellow, where on the 3 resource turn I'll have initiative and I'll play regional governor and I'll call Waylay, and they had no other play, so they just have to claim. And then I get to their 5 resource turn and I play regional governor and call Cantina Bouncer, and it comes close to blanking that turn too. So you can get kind of creative with it against this deck, because there are honestly so many different cards that can hurt you. So it's almost every single turn there's a different card that you want to be calling. Once you get past like the DJ zone and you're you say you've already flipped your leader, you're getting to like 7 resources, 8 resources, and you might that's kind of the point of the game where you're going to be calling Enfys or Han Solo, because Enfys Nest can cause a lot of problems. I would say it's even more problematic than Han, if she's able to just like go to town bouncing all your stuff. So yeah, once you get to the late game, start thinking about calling those guys out. Here's a Anakin blue list. I don't know whose list this is, but it's a pretty standard. This one doesn't have bravado. That's the only difference. But other than that, this is typical red blue hero stuff. And in this deck, there's like one primary thing that you want to be calling, which is Luke Skywalker. I would say that that's the most powerful thing to target with regional governor. If you get to 7 resources, say, and you have initiative, you probably want to just like windmill slam regional governor down on the table and call Luke, especially if you have board control. Like that's going to stop them from coming back into the game. If you shut off their Luke, like, it's going to take out a huge chunk of their late game plan. If you end up having to play the regional governor, say you just didn't draw any like decent cards early, and you just need to play it out as a unit early, it's totally cool to call Yoda or Jedi lightsaber. Depending on if they have anything on board. If there's no units on the board, Yoda's a pretty good call because Yoda is such a powerful early unit for them, as it is for us on Rey. It lets them draw cards to draw another answers. It lets them have a target to put Jedi lightsaber on, activates force throw, all those things. So turning off Yoda is a pretty big play. If you're say on 5 resources going into 6 resource turn, or maybe with your first action of the 6 resource turn, you might want to call Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Jedi lightsaber to try and screw up their flip turn. But yeah, as you see, like, it all depends on, you go with the phase of the game. You're trying to call out what's going to hurt you the most. Here we have Bosk Blue. This is a guy I've interacted with on the KTOD Discord sometimes. Alex Menegeso. I don't know, probably mispronouncing that. Here's his Bosk Blue list. It's pretty standard. So I won't go too deep into it, but I will talk about what cards I'm calling. One thing I can do with the regional governor here is play it out turn 1 or turn 2 and call Power of the Dark Side. That can be pretty strong. Just to like, because shutting off Power of the Dark Side can be what enables you to build up a board early. You could also call Chilton at that time. Not a bad call out. Just kind of depends on whether you have any like units that can trade with Chilton. So like, say if you already have like a Sabine down that was able to stick because they weren't able to power to the dark side it, then I probably wouldn't bother naming Chilton, because Sabine can kill Chilton with Target Town pretty easily. Then once you get into the late game, regional governor turning off Super Laser Blast is just always huge. So much of their game plan is built around like being able to like stall, bait you into building a big board and then Super Laser Blasting you. So if you start getting the indication that they're trying to do that, either by like them maybe claiming really early on the 7 resource turn, then you can drop your regional governor and like just see the look on their face. It's so fun when they realize that they're not going to be able to SLB kill your giant board that you created. That's always fun. If you have like the type of board state where Avenger would really mess you up, or you're like, say the Bosk player is like ahead of you, then calling Avenger can be pretty good, because it can kind of give you a window to get back into the game by being able to build a board up, even if it's just for 1 turn. You know how hard it can be sometimes to be able to like develop a board when Avenger's already sitting there. It's difficult to play more than like 2 units a turn. So, you want to be able to drop your regional governor and then play out like a R2D2, Sabine, Yoda, etc. Build a big board state and then crawl your way back into the game. If you're ahead but don't have a way to deal with the crate dragon, say you don't have like a Vanquish in your hand, or Fell the Dragon or anything like that, or Rival's Fall, then you might want to drop it and call crate, just because shutting it down before it hits the table can be a good way of dealing with it if you don't have any removal. Some other cheeky sort of things to call is like dropping it, like if they're like really low in cards in hand and you think that they might only have like a couple of pieces of removal in their hand, you can just drop the regional governor and call takedown, like call the thing that you can use to kill your regional governor. Can be really good. You kind of play it by ear, like how the game's gone, because they have so much removal. Like you can kind of see like, oh, okay, they've used like 3 Power of the Dark Sides already. Takedown might be one of their only ways to get rid of the regional governor. So you can just like call the takedown and then just like build up the board with a bunch of little weenies and kill them that way. Or if they're getting like a lot of damage on their base, and vigilance is going to be the way they come back into the game. Then you can call the vigilance. You know, the nice thing about Bosk is because of Chilton, they show you their hand a lot. So it makes using regional governor a lot easier. You know, they show you their hand and they're like, oh, playing Chilton, I have 2 super laser blasts and like a top target and like an entrenched, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll play regional governor and call super laser blast, I guess. So you know, you see, it makes it that definitely is another like facet of the boss game, is like you have a lot better information for regional governor. Here is a Django list. This is from Bobby Sapphire from KTOD. I think this is one of his older lists. I'm sure it's changed a lot, like what he's running nowadays, but this is still like pretty representative of like the range of cards that they're using. But in this matchup, and this matchup is the reason that regional governor is in my main board. You know, it's helpful in everything else, but this is why I'm running it, and that's because of Ruthless Raider. So the fun thing about the Django deck is that like so much of it is built around Ruthless Raider. Like they have 3 copies of it, obviously. Then they have 3 copies of Triple Dark Raid to try and cheat it out early. And then they also run Sneak Attack to cheat it out early. I think some of them even have more than 1 copy of Sneak Attack now. So they have like pretty much like 7 or 8 copies of, you know, Ruthless Raider that they're kind of like trying to run with. I guess Sneak Attack doesn't really count as an extra copy, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you know, they're trying to get it out early and they're trying to get it out often. So if you play Regional Governor against Django Tarkentown, you can generally play it fairly safely anytime after like turn 1 or turn 2. Django is usually starting out the game by playing either an ISB agent or Greedo or a crafty. So you want to start the game by playing a ground unit of your own. So if you say start with like Sabine unit and you're able to trade with Greedo or the crafty smuggler, then after that stage of the game, they don't really have a lot of ways to deal with ground units, other than the Django leader. So it's usually not too hard to be able to plant a sentinel or you know, like a medium sized unit down, and then also stick the regional governor down. And they just like have a hard time killing it because they don't really run any removal other than like pumps, and this one has like a Van Brace flamethrower that's like the way they remove your units is by pinging them with either P38 or with Ruthless Raider. So they're trying to like play the Raider, ping, you know, put 2 damage on your ground unit, tap it down, and then you know, if they're sneak attacking or, you know, or if they're triple dark raiding, they're playing the Raider again. Like they're just like stacking ping damage on your units to kill them. So if you call Ruthless Raider with the regional governor, that's like not just eliminating like their main threat in the deck, it's also eliminating their main source of like removal to your units. So it's like naming the Raider actually protects the regional governor. So I would say 95% of the time you're going to name the Ruthless Raider. But say you've already seen a couple of Ruthless Raiders, you know, you have some indication that they don't have like another one in their hand just based on how they're playing, and say you die if like they have 5 damage, so you don't have to say you don't have like a perilous position or a vanquish or something like that to kill a Fett's fire spray. That would be the only other situation where I'd call a different card. I would call the fire spray, just to make sure that you can't get like a cheap 5 damage and lose the game. But pretty much all game long you're calling the Raider there. So that was it. That was kind of like a quick primer on how I use regional governor and when. I hope that was helpful. I think the main thing is just use it. Like I think a lot of times people aren't as good as using regional governor and like other cards like that because they just sit in their sideboard and they don't get enough practice like deploying it, seeing what works, what doesn't. So a lot of times what I like to so I'm running regional governor in my main board, and the reason I'm running it is because as you saw, like all those decks that everybody's running, like there are a lot of like good targets for it. It only costs two. It's not like that this huge like opportunity cost like playing that card. um, but but even for cards like that I do have in my sideboard, what I like to do is when I first add a new card to my deck, even if I plan on it being a sideboard card, if it's like a really situational card, I will add 3 copies of it to my main board and play with it for like several days. And I do that so that I can force myself to use it. Say it's like something weird, like like a card that's like super situational, like Change of Heart or something like that. Like if you're adding it to your deck, like just run Change of Heart in your main board and play around with it and see like when it's good, see when it's not good, and that'll like kind of help you evaluate it better. If you just like add cards like that to your sideboard and they just sit there, and you're like, oh, I don't know when to bring this in, or whatever, I don't know what to take out for this. Like you're never gonna learn if it's just like in the side and like you're not playing with it like for a bunch of games. So put the regional governors in your main board, play 50 games with them in your main board, and you'll very quickly realize like where you want to use it. But anyway, uh, this hopefully will give you uh, a little bit of help accelerating that learning process. All right, thanks. Bye.